It's been a few takes. It's really hard to do this alone. It can be a little difficult in a good way and a bad way that you're always learning. And by that I mean it's great that your career is so exciting and there's new things to constantly be learning, but there's also a lot of pressure and imposter syndrome that comes with that. Because if you're always learning, you always feel like you're a little bit behind. And there may be times in your career where you feel like, you've reached where you know everything and you feel confident, and that lasts for about 60 seconds. And then you're back to feeling completely overwhelmed and like you need to learn everything all over again. So I would say that's definitely one of the harder things about being a dev. But on the flip side, it's also really fun and interesting all the time because you're always learning new things. There's always something new to learn. There's always something new to do. And in engineering, you're never going to be doing the same thing over and over again. You have to just never give up because there are going to be times where you are so demoralized when you're debugging something and you need to have that little extra push to just push past that. And that is something that you don't have to come into engineering and you don't have to have that. I did not have that. Honestly, I cried several times privately in the bathroom. I never cried publicly at work, to clarify. But I would go into the bathroom and I would cry because I would feel so frustrated and so clueless and helpless. But over the years, I've been an engineer for 6 years now, you start to kind of get over that and you feel more confident and you realize that nobody knows it all. I think for me, personally, fully remote. I really enjoyed being in San Francisco and getting the whole tech experience way back when, but I think now I really love being remote and being home with my dog, and I think you get more done. And I think there's a tendency in tech, it kind of pushes us to think that, you need to have your whole life at work and you need to be at work all the time, like Google and Apple and Facebook, all those companies that are really pushing you to be on site all the time. I don't think that's healthy. I think we should have a life outside of work. I think you should stop working 5:30, 6 p.m. and you should be done. And I think remote work really facilitates that, and I really hope companies in the future start moving towards that, even more so than they are now. I have definitely made a few mistakes in my career, definitely things that I wish I could have avoided now. I think not advocating for yourself in a promotion early enough is really something that a lot of junior devs struggle with. For me, I moved to San Francisco in 2014, got a job right after I graduated my boot camp, and I really struggled with advocating for myself for a raise or even thinking I was worth anything at all. I was just so happy to have a dev job, and that's really not healthy or sustainable if you want to be living in the city and making a fair wage. So I think some of the biggest mistakes for me was not asking for a raise earlier, for instance, and not coming to my boss and saying, hey, here's everything that I've done in the last year and this is why I deserve a raise. So I think it's really important, especially early in your career, when you might have this tendency to feel like you don't deserve it, but you do, and you're doing the work. Your company hired you for a reason, so I think being confident about that and asking for what you're worth is really important. I think what really drew me to engineering was Neopets when I was like 13 years old, maybe 12. I had been on Neopets for a while, but I started creating all these guilds and creating guilds for other people, and for context, it's basically HTML and CSS. But I thought it was so amazing to put something on the page. And now that I look back, those websites were just awful, and I still have them, and I still have my account, so I can go look at them sometimes. And they looked absolutely terrible, but there's something so magical about seeing something that I had created on the page. And then I went to college, and the major was extremely impacted, and a lot of college counselors recommended that women not go into that field, so I didn't. And after I graduated college, I had a mass communications degree, and I could not get a job. I could not even get an interview, and it was so demoralizing because I just spent, years in college. I had changed my major. I felt really upset that I had a degree, but I couldn't get a job. And my aunt one day messaged me about coding boot camps, and I started researching them online, and I thought they were incredible. And I thought, okay, maybe it's a scam, but I should, find out for myself and go try it. And I toured a few campuses and saw that these were like amazing places where people were actually learning and working really hard, and the rest is history.